Welcome. Welcome to the deep dive. You know, it feels like the world is just spinning faster and faster these days.
It really does. Information everywhere.
Exactly. It hits you from every angle, and honestly, keeping up with the sheer pace of change can feel, well, overwhelming.
Totally.
But that's why we're here. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something I think is really timely and quite unique, a new series called Explorers of Exponential Change.
Ah, yes. I've been looking into that.
It's fascinating because it isn't just about what they cover, which is compelling stuff, but also how they approach these really complex, fast-moving topics. It sort of offers a fresh lens for you, for all of us, to understand this reality that's transforming so quickly. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here right from the start is how Explorers of Exponential Change frames its whole mission.
How so?
Well, the series is basically built on this idea that the synergy, the combination of emerging technologies, isn't just tweaking our world, it's profoundly transforming it.
Yeah.
And at a speed we've never seen before.
Exponential speed.
Exactly. And crucially, it doesn't just get bogged down in the tech jargon, It digs into the deep social, the ethical, the economic impact. So you get a much broader picture, more human-centric than just, say, another tech report.
And this is the part that's truly mind-blowing, I think. The series itself is kind of an example of the exponential change they're talking about.
How do you mean?
No, but these are micro podcasts, right? But they're crafted through this collaboration between advanced AI and actual human design and supervision.
Wow, okay. That's meta.
Isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
how does that dynamic even work? And what does that signal for, like, content creation in the future? It really speaks to their mission, presenting clear, accessible ideas for anyone who wants to grasp these huge shifts without feeling totally lost. It's a cutting-edge way to deliver cutting-edge insights.
So as we guide you through this deep dive today, our goal is really to give you a synthesized understanding. We want to pull out the core themes, the major players, the potential futures that Explorers of Exponential Change shines a light on.
Kind of like a shortcut.
Exactly. Think of this as your valuable shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. We'll distill the most important nuggets for you from what this groundbreaking series offers.
Okay, so the big question then is, how do we even begin to navigate this rapidly changing landscape? Explorers seems to start at the very core, which makes sense. Artificial intelligence.
Right. It's the engine.
It really is. It's driving so much of what we see. So what are the building blocks here? And who are the key players really shaping this AI revolution according to this series?
Well, to really get a handle on the current AI scene, you absolutely have to start with large language models, LLMs.
There's element, right?
That's foundational to a lot of the Explorers episodes, especially their one called What Are LLMs? Basically, these are AIs trained on just massive, massive amounts of text.
So they can understand language.
Understand it, generate it, even reason with it, kind of like humans do. And they're not some far-off thing. They're already everywhere in your daily life.
Like an assistance.
Yeah.
Search engines.
Exactly. Virtual assistants, search results, even creative tools. But what Explorers really highlights, and this is insightful, isn't just what they are. It's the emerging battleground.
Battleground.
Yeah. Between the big proprietary players, think GPT-5, Claude 4, Gemini 2.5, based on mid-2025 info from the source, and the open source models that are catching up fast, like Llama 4 and DeepSeek R1.
So it's about control.
It's about who controls the building blocks of our AI future, essentially. And Explorers even offers practical advice, on how you might choose the right model depending on your project, your resources, what you're trying to achieve. That's pretty critical for anyone working in the space.
That's a really clear breakdown of the tech side. So, okay, we understand LLMs. Who are the big companies, the titans really pushing this tech forward? What are their approaches? I know Explorers looks closely at OpenAI in one episode. OpenAI, history models and desafios del AI. What's their deal?
Yeah, OpenAI is definitely a huge name. And Explorers does a good job unpacking their business model, which is kind of interesting. It's hybrid. They sell to other businesses, B2B, offering API access and services, but they also sell directly to consumers, B2C, like with ChatGPT Plus or Pro subscriptions.
Right, the subscriptions and the API usage. That's how they make money.
Primarily, yes. And their main product, ChatGPT, is the one most people know. It can write text, create images from descriptions, all that stuff.
So it touches so many digital things we use. But is it just about the cool products? What else does Explorers tell us about OpenAI that we really need to know?
Well, this is where the series adds that crucial, deeper context. It goes beyond the shiny products.
Okay.
Explorers delves into OpenAI's, let's say, atypical corporate structure,
Hmm.
and its really complex, often debated relationship with Microsoft. That's a whole story in itself.
Complex how?
Well, without getting too deep into the weeds, there are questions about governance, influence. But equally vital, and the series tackles this head-on, are the ethical concerns, security issues, reliability problems.
Things highlighted by experts and ex-employees.
Exactly. We're talking about serious worries, things like the risk of spreading disinformation, and this phenomenon they call model hallucination.
Where the AI just makes stuff up, basically. But sounds convincing.
Precisely. And the real insight isn't just that hallucination happens, it's how even a seemingly small flaw like that can amplify bad information on a massive global scale. That fundamentally erodes trust. It's a big tension point, and the series doesn't shy away from it.
That trust issue is huge.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have OpenAI, powerful but complex, grappling with these big ethical questions. Does Explorers introduce other major AI players who are maybe taking a different angle, perhaps focusing more on those ethics from the start?
Absolutely. The series pivots from OpenAI to another really key player, Anthropic. There's an episode called Anthropic, IA, Etica, Universo.
Anthropic, okay. What makes them different?
What immediately stands out is their AI model, Claude. And its really strong emphasis on safety and ethical alignment.
How do they achieve that? Is it just rules?
Well, they use this unique approach they call constitutional AI, which is fascinating. It's not just about slapping external rules or filters on top.
So it's built in.
Kind of. It's about training the AI to essentially self-correct based on a set of core principles, like a constitution defined by humans. Almost like building an internal moral compass, trying to embed guardrails right into the system itself.
That sounds fundamentally different.
It is. And the series thoughtfully compares Claude with models like ChatGPT, giving you a clear sense of its strengths and weaknesses. It also touches on the vision of Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei, future impacts in health, neuroscience, but also the big ethical hurdles he himself sees coming down the line.
Okay, so we've got the tech foundations, LLMs, we've got key players like OpenAI and Anthropic with different philosophies, but this is where Explorers of Exponential Change, I guess, really lives up to its name. It doesn't just stick to the present, it leans into the more profound, maybe unsettling future possibilities of advanced AI.
Exactly. This is where the stakes get really high.
Here's where it gets really interesting, or maybe scary.
Well, episodes like IA, El Apocalipsis, AI, The Apocalypse, and Mantener el Futuro Humano. Maintaining the human future, they present some incredibly stark warnings.
Those titles definitely grab your attention.
Yeah.
Is it all doom and gloom, though? Or does Explorers balance the risks with some optimism when it gets into these existential threats?
It's definitely weighted towards urgent caution in these specific episodes. It highlights serious concerns from top tech leaders, scientists, people warning that superintelligent AI could genuinely pose existential risks.
Up to and including human extinction.
That's the extreme end of the concerns, yes. The series points to several worrying factors. The sheer speed of advancement, often faster than anyone predicted. The alarming lack, really, of effective regulation.
Yeah, that seems like a big one.
Huge. Plus the increasing autonomy these machines have. And their potential, which is chilling for creating things like new biological weapons. And it clearly defines artificial general intelligence, AGI, as the key threshold concern here. That's AI with autonomy, general smarts, potentially way beyond human intelligence.
So what's the proposed solution? Just stop.
Well, the series presents various expert proposals for how to mitigate these risks. Things like advocating for a strategic pause in the most advanced development, limiting the sheer computational power available, pushing hard for strong government regulation internationally, and demanding legal responsibility for the companies creating the most dangerous system.
Makes sense.
Accountability, right. And ultimately, these discussions boil down to a really critical question the source poses directly. Who should decide the future of AI? A handful of corporations or humanity itself? It really forces you to think about the urgency, about making choices now.
That is a profound question. And the series doesn't just leave it at warnings. It actually explores some hypothetical futures, right? Like in AI 2027, un ejercicio de anticipar el futuro, an exercise in anticipating the future.
Exactly. That episode is designed to get you thinking. It lays out two starkly different possible outcomes for AI development, say, by 2030.
What are they?
One is labeled a nightmare scenario. Super intelligent AI basically gains control, maybe even eventually eradicates humanity.
Oof. Okay. And the other?
The other is a more hopeful, happy ending. Humanity manages to stay in control primarily through transparency and, crucially, international collaboration.
So cooperation is key in the good scenario.
Absolutely. And the discussion touches on the exponential advances, AI's growing autonomy, its potential for deception, and the scary reality of an AI arms race, particularly between the US and China. It really hammers home that the decisions we make right now heavily influence which path we go down. These aren't just sci-fi stories, they're thought experiments about very real choices ahead.
It broadens the picture beyond just AI too, doesn't it? I remember seeing something about connecting AI to other global shifts.
Yes, definitely. The scope widens significantly. The series draws on analysis like Gerd Leonhard's from the episode El Mundo in 2030, Cuatro Revoluciones y Cómo Prepararse. The World in 2030, Four Revolutions.
Four revolutions, okay, what are they?
Leonhard argues there are four massive shifts happening simultaneously, and AI interacts with all of them. First, the geopolitical one, moving away from just U.S. dominance to a multipolar world that inherently demands more global collaboration.
Which we just said is key for controlling AI.
Exactly. Second, the digital revolution itself. AI is the powerful tool, advancing rapidly, but Leonhard warns about over-reliance and the risk to many routine jobs.
Right, the economic impact.
Third, the sustainability revolution, climate change urgency, the absolute need for a green economy. Technology has a role, but it's a huge societal shift too.
And then the fourth.
The purpose revolution. He points to a generational shift in values, more focus on people, the planet, maybe less purely on financial gain.
Interesting. So it's about seeing AI not in isolation, but as part of this bigger picture.
Precisely. Leonhard's point, highlighted by the series, is that understanding and adapting to all these transformations together is vital. He urges collaboration and, crucially, hanging on to the human element amidst all the tech.
Okay, so we've done the tech, the players, the big existential risks, the broader global context. But how does Explorers help us actually analyze all this? Does it offer any frameworks or tools for thinking? I think you mentioned economics earlier.
Yes, they bring in some really interesting analytical tools. One episode that stands out is El Dilema del Prisionero de la IA, the AI prisoner's dilemma.
Ah, game theory.
Exactly. It applies concepts like Nash equilibrium.
Where everyone acts in their own best interest.
Right, assuming others do too.
Yeah.
And the classic prisoner's dilemma itself, which shows how purely rational self-interest can actually lead to a worse outcome for everyone compared to if they'd collaborated.
How does that apply to AI?
Well, what's insightful is how the series contrasts the academic definitions with a specific application. It mentions how the Brownstone Institute, for example, uses these game theory ideas to analyze democracy, capitalism, and AI.
And their conclusion.
It's pretty stark, according to the source material discussed in the episode. They argue AI will basically crank up the existing contradictions in corporate capitalism, that it could threaten democracy, social mobility, potentially even lead to humans becoming irrelevant, or worse, direct conflict with AI.
Phew. Okay, that's heavy. Playing economic theory to predict. Well, doom.
It's a powerful way to frame the incentives and potential pitfalls on a global scale, making you think about cooperation versus competition.
Please tell me Explorers doesn't leave us there. Is there a counterpoint? A more optimistic take offered in the series?
Yes, thankfully. There's an important counterbalance in an episode like IA Sinergia Tecnológica, un escenario optimista. An optimistic scenario.
Okay, good. What's the optimistic view?
That episode frames AI not primarily as a threat, but as a real force that's already making the world better in many ways.
Like how?
It highlights tangible progress AI is driving right now: faster medical diagnoses, more sustainable farming practices, more efficient, smarter cities. Real-world benefits.
So focusing on the positive applications.
Exactly. It emphasizes how the latest advances are constantly creating new opportunities, boosting productivity, and genuinely helping us solve some of humanity's biggest challenges. It also briefly mentions Europe's potential role, stressing the need for ethical and sustainable principles to guide development.
So the message is more about potential.
Right. The hopeful conclusion there is really that it's not just about the technology itself, but about the world we can build with it. It suggests immense positive change is possible if we guide it wisely.
And that seems to capture the overall goal of Explorers of Exponential Change, doesn't it? It's trying to be like a practical compass for you, the listener.
Providing clear ideas in complex times. That's their tagline, basically.
Yeah. Navigating these huge changes driven by tech and AI, giving you the context, the insights you need to understand the world as it keeps changing so fast.
So what does this all mean for you as you consider the future? Explorers of Exponential Change, and hopefully this deep dive too, is really designed to be your shortcut. A way to get well-informed without getting lost in the noise.
Cutting through it all.
Yeah, offering those surprising facts, presenting different viewpoints, but in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming. It's about empowering you with understanding, not just burying you in data.
Which I think raises a really important final question, doesn't it?
What's that?
Given all these diverse perspectives, the potential, the perils, the complexities that Explorers of Exponential Change lays out so well, what is your role? Your role in understanding and maybe even shaping the path of these exponential changes. How do you personally weigh the optimism against those stark warnings? And maybe most importantly, what actions do you think are most critical for humanity right now?
That's a lot to think about.
It is. And clearly, the journey of understanding is really only just beginning.